Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and this video on how to do iris folding to make beautiful greetings cards like this one. Iris folding is one of the first card making techniques I ever tried well over 10 years ago. And in fact, it was an interest in iris folding and the desire to kind of start creating my own patterns for it, which drove me down the whole journey into becoming a craft content creator. So iris folding is very, very special to me. If you look back at the videos on my YouTube channel, one of the very first ones I ever did was on how to do iris folding. And since then, I've come a long way, so I thought it was time to do an updated video. And the difference with this video is that now I have a Cricut machine, I can show you two different ways to make your iris folding cards. The first way I'll show you in this video is if you are hand cutting, so you don't have a cutting machine, you're just using a pair of scissors or a craft knife, something like that. And the second version, which I will also show in this same video, is how you can get your Cricut to cut out the pattern for you. But what exactly is iris folding? Well, it is the art of using folded paper strips like this along a pattern such as this. Here's one of my patterns. And you can see it's got all these little numbers on, which shows you the order to stick the strips in. And then you end up with something absolutely beautiful like this. So these strips form these wonderful spirals, and it's called iris folding because it resembles the iris in a camera. Then we've got our nice little shiny middle in there too. There are over 50 free iris folding patterns available on my website at craftwithsarah.com/iris. So if you go to that, not only will you find a full written version of this video with lots of pictures and screenshots along the way, but also 50 free patterns to download. And all of those patterns come with a hand cutting version and a Cricut or other digital cutting machine version. So let's crack on with this tutorial. Just look at all that shine and let's start iris folding. I have 50 free iris folding patterns for you to choose from on my website. To find them, you can either go to craftwithsarah.com/iris-folding or follow these steps to find the page from my homepage. So if you just go to craftwithsarah.com, you've got this navigation bar here. If you hover over more and then press iris folding, that will take you to the tutorial page that goes along with this video. And then you can click 50 free iris folding templates in here to go down to this section. Click view all free iris folding patterns. And that will take you to the page where they can all be found. Each pattern has a difficulty rating, and if you're new to iris folding, I suggest starting with the ones that are 1 star, as those will be the easiest to make. The ones that have the 3 stars usually end up with complex folds inside them, and those are not going to be covered in this video, but I'll be covering them in my next video, which will be out in a few days' time. If you're not already logged into your Craft with Sarah account, yours will say login here instead of download. Log into your account or register a free account if you don't already have one, and then come back to this page and it will say download under all of them. So if you have a little look down here, you can see all of the different patterns. There are so many to choose from, and they're all free for you to download. So I'm just going to keep scrolling through so you can see what's there. And I'm planning on releasing more patterns throughout the year too. So almost at the bottom now, there we go. For this tutorial, I'm going to use the Christmas bauble design. So let's scroll up again and find that one, which is here. So I'm going to download this to my computer by clicking the download button, and that will save to your downloads folder. The pattern comes in a zip folder, and you'll need to unzip this before you can use the design. On a Windows computer, right-click on the folder and press Extract All. Choose where you want to save it and then press Extract. You can see I've now got a copy of the folder, only this time it doesn't have that zip picture down it. And that's the one I can click into. Within here are several different versions of the iris folding pattern. You've got a version here which is a JPEG. If I double click that to open it, then this is what this looks like, and this is the hand cutting version. So if you don't have a Cricut or a cutting machine and you're using scissors or a craft knife to cut your pattern, this is the one that you will need, and I'll show you how to print this in a moment. But we'll also look in this folder. This says cutting machine version, e.g. Cricut. And within here are files that we will need if we're going to use a Cricut. Again, I'll show you how to use them a little bit later on. So within here, there are several different versions again. And for Cricut machines, you're going to need to upload 2 of them. You'll need to upload the pattern itself, which is the JPEG version of the file, and the SVG file to cut out the outline. If you're using a Silhouette machine and you've got the free version of Silhouette Studio, then you'll need that DXF file instead. But we'll come on to all that later. For now, we're going to take a look at the hand cutting version. Open up the hand cutting version of your chosen pattern, which is the one in the main folder, and it's a JPEG file, a JPG file. This will open up on your computer. You can choose to open it up in a specific program if you've got something that you prefer to print from, but I'm just going to show it from here. So the patterns will come nicely sized to fit on a greetings card, but you can change that if you want to. So I'm going to go and press my print button, which will open my printer settings. And then I need that to be portrait. And you can see it's kind of cutting stuff off. It's going right to the very edge. And that's because my particular program is trying to print this full page. So I want to change this under Fit and do Shrink to Fit so that it will print in the original size that I have designed it to be printed at. So just make sure in your preview it looks how it looks when you just look at the picture. So this is right for me. If I wanted to make this smaller to go on a smaller card, I just need to have a little look. I reckon it'll probably be in more settings. Nope. Okay. It'll take a bit of playing about until you find it. Plain paper is fine. Here we go. I can change it a little bit smaller in here if I wanted to, so I can change the size, but I'm going to keep mine as just full page and Shrink to Fit, which will be the size I designed it at. You need to print 2 copies of the pattern. One will be used to actually cut the hole in our cardstock to fit the folding in, and the other one we'll use as our guide. So print 2 copies of that, and then I'll show you how to use them. Here I've got my pattern, so I printed out 2 of these, and then one of them I've cut out the iris folding pattern. So I just took my scissors and cut out one of those. And what I've also done is I've prepared my card base. This is a 5x7 inch card blank, so I'll fold it down the middle. This will be my card. And then I've got a separate mat to do my iris folding on. Make sure your pattern fits with a nice gap around every side. And I like to mount mine on another colour just to add that little pop. But of course that's completely up to you. So this is how it will look when it's done with all my pattern in there. Take your aperture. Well, it's not an aperture yet. It will be when we've done it. And position, turn it upside down first. So this is my pretty side of my paper. It's got kind of a mottle effect on. Turn it upside down so I'm looking at the back side. And then get your pattern, position it where you want it to go. The pattern should be facing upwards because we're doing our folding on the back of the bit of card. And then when you're happy with where it's positioned, take a pencil and lightly draw around the edge of the pattern. A pencil works better than a pen because if your line is too thick or too dark, you might see it through on the other side. And this pencil's actually broken. It's a mechanical pencil. But as soon as I put any pressure on the lead, it's just disappearing back inside. So my lines are not going to look good on this. Oh dear, why does this always happen? Oh, now it's not coming out at all. Why does this always happen on video? Okay, I'm going to use a pen instead, but a light coloured one. So hopefully it won't show through. Oh dear. Now I've got that on the back, we need to cut it out. And I like to use a scalpel. You can try and use scissors if you want. A regular scalpel will work absolutely fine, but if you're going to be doing a lot of these cards, then I recommend buying a rotating blade scalpel. You can get these on Amazon and they're not very much money, they're only a few pounds. They normally come with different blades. I think this is a Fiskars one, but I just typed in rotating blade craft knife. And the blades on this one, I probably shouldn't be touching it, but they move around, which means you can do curved lines a lot easier than with a standard craft knife. So I'm just going to pick a place to start and cut in, following the line. I also think that the rotating blade is a lot easier for me personally as I'm left-handed. And one thing to do is rather than moving the scalpel at all different angles, move the cardstock. So I'm going to do a little bit and I'm rotating the cardstock round. And that way the drag on the knife is a lot more natural because you're just dragging it towards yourself rather than trying to kind of go through at all funny different angles. The moment of truth is if it pops out. If not, you might have to go over a few other areas. Oh, yeah, I haven't quite cut through here. Just do that again. This is why I prefer the Cricut version, because the Cricut does all this for you, but if you don't have one, this is still perfectly possible. And I was folded for about 7 or 8, maybe even 10 years before I even got a Cricut. So yeah, there we go. Turn it round. And if you've got any bits that maybe aren't quite as pretty as they could be, you can always just go in and tidy up some of those edges. Might be better with a pair of scissors on this bit, but I haven't quite got a nice circle shape here. There. Okay, so now we've got to this step. This is where I'm going to pause for now and go and show you the Cricut version, because when we've done the Cricut version, we'll end up with exactly this same thing, and then the rest of the video will be exactly the same, whether you've hand cut it or you've done it with the Cricut. So if you are hand cutting this, you're going to want to skip the next step and go right until I'm making the card. But if you do have a Cricut or a cutting machine, then this next bit is for you. Now we're going to look at how to do that same thing, but using a Cricut machine instead, so the Cricut will do all the cutting out for you. Open up Cricut Design Space and start a new project. Go into Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find a file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder and then go into the folder inside there called Cutting Machine Version. we need to upload 2 files for our Cricut. The first is the one that has JPG in the file name. And if you're looking at the little picture preview, it looks like the actual iris folding pattern. Click and drag that in. And this is a print and cut image. Choose complex as the file type and press continue. Don't change anything on this screen, just press apply and continue. And then choose print and cut image and press upload. Our next image, if we go back to upload, is the actual SVG file, which is going to cut out the shape. And that's the one that has SVG in the file name. And you'll notice mine doesn't show a preview picture. Yours probably won't either. That's absolutely fine. Just drag it in, and then you'll see it looks like this once it's uploaded. And it's coming as a cut image, which is exactly what we want. If yours has come in a print and cut, it means that you've not uploaded the right file. So make sure you've got that one which has SVG in the file name. And then press upload. Then I can click both of these in my recent uploads to get that green border around them. And then press add to canvas. And here they are. Now you'll notice that they're different sizes at the moment. That's okay, we're going to fix that. You might also notice that you get a little exclamation mark next to the pattern saying that it's low resolution. You can ignore that message, it doesn't matter at all for this project. Okay, so we need to make our card front to cut the shape out of. I want to make a 5x7 inch card, so I'll start with that. We'll go into shapes and choose a square. And then make this the full size of the card, which will be 10 inches wide and 7 inches tall. So when that's folded in half, it will make a 5x7 inch card. And I'll change the colour to white. Move that out the way so we can see better. Add a score line down the middle to make it easier to fold. But if you don't have a scoring tool for your Cricut, you can leave this out. Go into shapes and choose a score line. Make it 7 inches or whatever size you're making your card. Select both of those layers and go align center. And that puts the score line in the middle on the page. But at the moment, the Cricut doesn't actually know that we want it to score there. So we need to tell it with the attach button. I've still got both of these layers selected and press attach down at the bottom of the layers panel. And now the Cricut knows that that's where we want it to do the scoring. Move your card to the bottom of the layers panel by going arrange, center back. Now we can think about what size we want to actually make the fold. Go into shapes and choose another square. And then I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so that I can have it as a panel on my card. And then I'll probably outline it with another color. So I think I'll go 4.25 inches wide and 6.25 inches tall. So I've taken 3/4 of an inch off each side, and that will be white. And then I'll duplicate it to make a copy and make this one a little bit bigger and a different color. So add 1/4 of an inch this time, so 4.5 by 6.5. If you'd rather not do this in Design Space and cut all your mats and layers yourself, you can absolutely do that. I just thought I'd show you how you can do it in Design Space. Okay, I'll bring my pattern over now, and it's appearing underneath, so we need to go arrange, bring to front. And then you can size it however big or small you want your iris folding to go on your card. I think maybe 3.5 inches. That might be a little too big, maybe 3.25. And I'll position it around there. Okay, let's next resize the pattern. So when you've got your size here, you need to match this size to the printable pattern, otherwise the pattern won't fit your cutout. So we've got 3.25 Let's type that in there, 3.25. Make sure your padlock icon is closed and hit enter. And then it's a little bit off on the height. So I'm going to just manually copy in that height too. There we go. And now that and that are exactly the same size, which is perfect and what we need. Now, when you're cutting out your iris folding aperture, we need to flip the silhouette version of the file. So we're basically mirroring it. If you're used to cutting with vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, then you'll be used to mirroring. We're going to do that in here, going flip, flip horizontal. For this one, it doesn't make any difference because the pattern is pretty much symmetrical, but if you're using one that isn't, it's really, really important that you do that flip. Otherwise, once you've cut it out, it's not going to be the right way around once you've done the folding. And the reason for that is we do the folding on the bottom of the card so that when you turn it over, it looks all beautiful on the front. If you want to, you can add some extra patterns and embellishments to your aperture. And let's have a look. We'll go into images and type corner. Give it some pretty corners along the edge. And I want a cut only image that's only one layer. And then you have a little look. Just remember, this is going to be cut quite small. And because we're cutting it from cardstock, it needs to have nice thick edges on it and be quite simple. And also make sure that the patterns are all separate. For example, this one's not going to work because this would just cut that out of the card and it would all fall apart and you'll lose all the details. This one would work better, this one here, because this is more of a stencil image, so it's going to cut all the bits of black out, but because the white would still be connected to your card, it would all look beautiful and exactly as intended. So again, you can leave this off, you don't have to do it. I just thought I'd add a little bit of fanciness. Is that a word? I don't know. All right, now I have actually found one already that I've used on my test card. So I'm going to type in the number to find it again for this one. Here it is. Add to canvas. Make it smaller. And I want to duplicate this to make a copy. Flip it horizontally. And I'll have that one there. And then align them to the top so that they're going to be nice and even. And then I want to make sure they're in the middle of my card. So to do that, I will group the two corners. Or actually, I could probably weld them. That'd be easier. Let's undo that group. I'll go combine and weld instead to join them into one layer. And then I'll select that one, my bauble and the square underneath, and go align, center horizontally. And now I know that that's all nicely in position. I want to join all of these, my corners and the bauble, to my white rectangle, so it will cut them out. To do that, go into combine and subtract. And that should take the corners, if you've added them, and your iris folding shape out of the rectangle. So you can see those are now showing as cutouts, which is exactly what we want. There's still some space at the bottom here, and I think it'd be nice to add a Merry Christmas. We'll go back into images. And again, I found one already. So I'm just going to type out that number. Oh, no, maybe it's a 0 in the end, not a. I must have done it wrong. All right, I'll type out the name instead. Oh, I know why. It's because I've got my filters on. There we go. That's what I want. Make it a little smaller. And then I'll do this one from a gold cardstock and then match that red. So I clicked on Colour Sync up here and then just dragged my red, so it's going to cut it from the same colour. And now we're good. So I'm going to save this now because we've done quite a lot of work here. We don't want to lose it. Here we go. And now this is ready for me to cut out. So let's click Make up here. And this will be my print then cut. Now, when you print this, you don't actually need to send it into the Cricut machine to cut it. Just print it out on your printer. That's all you need. So once it's printed, just continue to the next mat and start cutting out your card. You don't need to send this in to actually have it cut by the Cricut. If you do by mistake, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. But you don't have to. We don't need this actually cut out. We just need it printed. And then I've got my card here. There we go. And there's my red and my gold. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out and then we'll see how it all looks. And then we'll get our pattern ready to start the iris folding. Here are all the bits of my Cricut version of the iris folding card cut out. So I've got my base card here, and then I've got my piece to go on top, which I've cut from red glitter, and then my aperture, which will be that way once it's the right way round, and my Merry Christmas, which I've already stuck together because I thought I was going to break it because it was quite narrow. I have lost the dot on my eye, so I'm going to need to find a little gemstone or something to go on there. And then I've got my pattern, and I didn't cut it using the print then cut, I just printed it. So I've got that all ready to use. And from now on, it's exactly the same whether you're using the hand-cut version of the iris folding pattern or if you're doing the Cricut version. I'm going to use my Cricut version, but as I said, it is the same either way. One thing I like to do is to use some washi tape or masking tape or something similar to attach my pattern to my work surface, just so I know it's not going to move anywhere when I'm doing the folding, because if it shifts about a bit, it might mean that some of your later folds go out of sync a bit, and your pattern might not look quite as perfect as it might otherwise have done. So just a couple of little bits on there. And then get your aperture, not quite sure how you say it. Make sure this is the back side. So this is not the pretty side if you're using card that's nice on one side and not as nice on the other. This is the side nobody will see, and that's the side that's facing upwards. Get it into position. And again, I'm going to just tack this down a little bit. I have just worked out that I'm going to have made things a bit difficult for myself by having these cutouts in the top. But we can work around it, it's okay. Alright, so I've just gently tacked that on there. So now this is lining up with my pattern, so I'm going to be able to see it. Next, we need to choose the papers. When you're iris folding, the thinner the paper you use, the better it will be because it won't end up so bulky. So you can use coloured cardstock if you have nothing else, but paper is going to be better. Either just coloured copy paper or origami paper is nice to use because that is really thin and designed for folding. I got this one from The Works in the UK. It's got loads of lovely patterns in it and they're all super thin paper. You can use scrapbook paper, but again, just watch out that it's not too thick. So this one is almost like cardstock. It would be okay, but not the best. Or you can use tissue paper. This works really nicely because obviously it is super duper thin. I've also seen people do it with florist ribbon kind of coloured envelopes often is quite good because that's quite thin. So there's loads of different things you can try. Just give it a play and decide what you like best. I'll use my origami paper for this one, and I am going to end up with 3 different colours. Now, if you want to use the exact colours I did, then you can print the hand cutting version of the pattern as well, and that will have which numbers to do in which colours. Here's what the printed pattern looks like for the hand cutting version with the colours down the side. I've got 4 colours listed on this one, but actually I'm probably just going to use 2 to make a little 2-toned bauble. What could I use? I'm trying to decide now. I can choose 4. I've got enough green. Yeah, maybe I will do 4 colours. And if you are not confident at following along with the numbers down here and matching them to your pattern, you can colour in the pattern here to match. So on this one, it says gold numbers 1, 2 and 3. Get a yellow pen or pencil or similar, and you can just roughly colour those in so that you can see they're yellow. And then do the same for the others. So I've got colour 1 on here. It's a 4. Be careful not to do your colour in your cardstock. You might want to colour it in before you stick it on. But I didn't think of that. 16, 20, 24, 28. And if possible, try and match this to the actual colours that you are folding with. It'll just make it easier to match it up. So then my colour 2, that would be over here. And I will do this in a kind of pinky colour. Colour 3, I've got a green. And then colour 4 I'll do in purple. Try not to cover over the numbers, otherwise it'll be harder to see which folds you're doing in what order. There we go. Let's put my colours away now and start thinking about what papers to use. So as I said, I'm going to use my origami. I'm going to need a yellow for my 1, 2 and 3. And I want quite a one with lots of yellow. There isn't really one. They've all got a bit too much pattern on them for my liking. I will go for my tissue paper instead. This piece of tissue paper is huge. Then just cut down a little bit here, cut it off. And you can't see what I'm doing. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so I've got my piece here, and then this is a bit big really, so I'll cut down again. And then for iris folding, once you've cut your strips, you always want to fold them, and that fold line is what we're going to put along the lines in the pattern. And the reason you fold it is because it gives a much deeper look to the iris folding, because you get that nice crisp fold along all the lines. If you don't fold it, it looks a bit messier and not as beautiful really. So that is the reason for folding it. You see I folded it about 3/4 of the way. You can do half and half if you prefer. You just need to make sure that this will cover over all of the gaps. Now we can start our folding. I've got 1, 2, 3. So I need 1, 2, I'm just roughly cutting it, 3. And these scissors, I used them on a project the other day and I was cutting sticky foam with them, and now they're all gummy. I need to clean them. My poor scissors. Right, grab some sticky tape, and we're going to start at the number 1 and place our bit of folding so that it lines up with that 1. Whichever pattern you're doing, start with the number 1. And because I've done these cutouts on the edges, which wasn't actually that clever in hindsight, I will just make this a little smaller so it's not going to go over them, otherwise you'd see it. Okay. I need to cut my tape smaller. I'm going to tape this into place, making sure the tape doesn't go over anything in my cutout or these little bits up here. If it does, you can just trim the tape a little bit, make it a bit smaller. And that's our first fold done. That was easy, wasn't it? Okay, now we can move on to number 2, which is the line in there. I might just zoom in a little. That's easier, isn't it? Okay, so once again, this is too big. Line up that. And tape it down. Then number 3, we've got our other straight line. Put that over there. And a bit of tape on there. And you can tape it to the bits that are already on there, that's absolutely fine. Remember, you're not going to see this side, so it doesn't matter that it's messy. Now I need to choose the paper for my 4 different colours. I'll definitely go for a red, because it is Christmas, and I've got the red on my glitter that I use. And I'm going to go, I think, 2 reds for 2 of the sides, and then a green. Oh, look, this will be nice because it will match. If I do that opposite, it's the same pattern but in different colours. I wonder if I've got the other one. Oh no, it's not. See, that's don't like that one as much. I don't want stripes. Let's go for that one. Okay, there's my 4. Now I can cut these into strips. That's probably a bit thin. Remember, they've got to be folded and still be able to cover the gaps on your pattern. Now I'll probably need another sheet of each of them. I'll just do this. And the great thing is, because you're folding them, you don't have to cut in a straight line because the folding will be straight. I'm going to go over there. If you want to get a really crisp fold, you can run over it with your brayer tool. If you are using thicker card, like card or thick scrapbook paper, I definitely recommend doing the brayer. It will make it a lot thinner. But as this origami paper is very thin anyway, I'm going to leave it as is. There's that one. And now I'm going to quickly just zoom through these 3 really, really quickly. I'm just doing exactly the same thing. I've now got my 4 sets of strips. And I'm going to do, how should we do it? I think because I've got red here, I'll do that as my red with the hearts on. Then this green one I'll do with my green hearts. Then I'll go red again, and then green again. You don't have to position your strips around where it goes, but I just find for me it's easier to then know which one I'm picking up at which point. We'll start with our number 4, and it'll be this one. I'm going to roughly hold that over so I can cut it so it's not going to end up way too big or too small. And then it'll need to be a little smaller, and I'm also going to just trim the excess there. And then line that up along the foreline. Tape it in place. Now I move on to the number 5, which is down here. So this is my other red. Let's put that in, roughly cut it. Line that up. Stick it down. And now I've got number 6, which again is the same colour because this one just has one more than all the others. That's just how the spiral ended up. So line that up and stick down. Then I've got 7. Once you get into the spiral, it will be more you'll do one of each in a row. But when you're getting started on the outside bit, sometimes they go in a bit of a weird order. Don't worry too much if it hangs off the edge of your card. Just make sure you don't put any tape on that bit. We can trim it at the end. That's number 7. The number 8, I'm back up here. So now we're on to our spiral. 8, and then 9 is the colour I haven't done yet. Oh, I'm going to need to cut that smaller, otherwise it's going to go into my corner. Right, and now it's pretty straightforward to follow because now I've done this very outer bits. Now 10, 11, 12, 13, and it's just going to go round completely in a spiral. So I'm going to just crack on with this and get the rest of them folded. And then I'll come back and show you how to finish it all off at the end. You know what, I've just realised I go too quickly on these. I did miss out the number 10. I went straight on to 11, but it's okay because I haven't done anything that intersects that line yet. So I'm just going to add that in. Oh dear. So yeah, that's my top tip. Pay attention to the numbers, even when you are distracting yourself by trying to talk and work out numbers at the same time, which apparently I'm not very good at. Okay, now I'm going to do the spiral as it's supposed to go. The 14 next. I've now finished folding in all the pattern. I've just got the number 30 left in the middle. Traditionally for iris folding, you would do the bit in the middle, the iris, in a shiny colour, either holographic, glitter, something like that. That's what I'm going to do for this one, but generally, purely from a personal point of view, I don't really like it when the middles are sparkly because I think it doesn't match with everything else and looks a little bit odd. So I tend to use one of my colours from the actual iris folding, or even to split it into 2 and just, for example, do half of it in one red and half in the other. But to keep things proper for this tutorial, I use some shiny gold. That's just going to go over there and fold down. When you're doing the folding, don't be tempted to pick it up and have a look partway through because you will never get it stuck in the same place again. And a couple of big bits of tape just to stick down any loose ends. Make sure your tape doesn't go over the edge of your cardstock. There we go. Okay, let's move these out of the way. I'll zoom out a bit now. Okay. Right, now I can carefully take off my washi tape. And now we get to have a look. Okay. So, stuck to my finger. Let's turn it over. And there's our iris folding. So it looks totally messy from this side, but beautiful from the front. All I need to do is just cut off my excess with my horrible gummy scissors. I could go and find some more, but seeing as I'm about to cut tape anyway, probably just gunk them up again. You could also use a scalpel for this. Make sure you don't cut your card, otherwise you'll end up with uneven edges. Just trimming this. There we go. Any bits that stick over the edge, just give them a little trim. And just a bit of tape there. Okay, right. Now we can put our card together, but if you have used thick cardstock, you might just want to press this under some heavy books or something for a day or so before putting the card down, or you can try brayering it with the brayer tool just to help flatten it down a little. So this, because I've used origami paper, it isn't that thick, which is great. Here's my card, and this is going to go on here. And because it's often thicker in the middle, what you can do is use foam squares everywhere apart from the middle. So this will have some depth on it, and then it will appear kind of flat, but then you might end up kind of being able to see in a bit to be able to see some of the messy bits. So I prefer to actually glue it. Because I'm using thin materials, that's okay. And I've got my double-sided tape, which works a little easier. Lots on because it's heavy. I'll also add a bit of glue around these little bits because I would not be able to fit my tape in there. If you're using the foam square approach instead, you would still need tape in the middle here and then foam all the way around the edge. It's completely up to you however you want to do it. And stick that down. You probably need to hold it in place for a moment if you have used glue, because it's going to try and pop off again because of the weight of it and because it's thick. You can again press it under something heavy until that glue's dry, if that's easier. I'm just going to stay here. I've got all day, so I will wait for it to dry. Now this can go on here. Again, you can either tape it, glue it, or use your foam squares. Completely up to you. I will tape mine. This goes in the middle. And I am so bad at sticking stuff straight. That's fairly straight. It's a little bit off. That'll do. There. And now I've just got my Merry Christmas to go at the bottom. And I think I will bump this one on with some foam. Give it a little bit of depth. Merry Christmas without a dot on the I, so I'll need to find something to go there. But apart from that, here is my iris folding Christmas card all finished. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on iris folding either with or without a Cricut machine. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel because I have other iris folding videos coming out very soon. For example, the next one is going to be on how to do advanced iris folding. This pattern was quite simple in that it pretty much just followed the spiral pattern. We had a couple of extra folds up here, but it was all kind of just the typical fold it along the lines. Some patterns are a little bit more complicated and some of them require you to fold your strips multiple times. For example, to make an angle, you might have to fold it along a pattern twice, something like this, to make a particular shape. So I'm going to cover that in the next video. Some of the patterns on my website, the free iris folding patterns, you will see underneath them that it says they are an advanced pattern. So if it's got that on, it probably means that the techniques in that one will be shown in the next video. Once I've released that, I'll add the link to the description of this one. So hopefully they should all be nice and easy to find. And then I'm also going to be doing a video soon on how to design your own iris folding patterns. So if that's something you'd like to know, then make sure you subscribe so you can see that video. Or if you're watching this a little bit after I've published it, chances are it might already be out. So do take a little look at my channel to see if that one's there too. But for now, I need to tidy up my workspace because iris folding is a little bit of a messy craft. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and happy crafting. Bye!